Welcome to Zen Fits. I, I wasn't here yesterday, so I didn't have a fit yesterday. And see this, I have a little block on my nose, so this helps me. But I have a friend who's renting a room, and he has a cat with the cat box. And so when he came home today, he said, "What's that on your nose?" I said, it's to relieve me from the kitty litter, smell of the kitty litter. Hint, hint. So what is my Zen fit today? Well, I was writing to a friend, and that's where I usually have a fit. And this fit was about, first of all, the point, the experience that I was referred to that spun into the fit was the obedience of dogs. Now, my wife was babysitting a little. Let me set my watch here. I keep forgetting to set my father's times, my father's pocket watch, and I forget to wind it so I know how much time I'm using here. So, okay, that's set up and ready to go. So anyway, my wife was babysitting, dog sitting, and the little dog, little Yorkie, it bonded with her. So wherever she went, the dog would follow. Little dogs in the house. And if she went out in the back, the dog would sit at the door. If she left the house and went to the store, the dog would sit at the door waiting. If she went upstairs, the dog would sit at the base of the stairs. When she sat down, the dog got in her lap. So wherever in the kitchen, the dog sat and watched her. So it was suddenly that my wife was the center of the dog. And so we like dogs for that, because they bond with us, and wow, they really like me. We like that. But cats, they don't give a shit. Cats don't give their center to you. Cats keep their own center. And we like cats for that. We like them for their independence. So we like the dog for its dependence, and we like the cat for its independence. And it's very clear, one or the other. But then I got to thinking about children. Now, children are both dependent and independent. I mean, they're programmed by nature to be obedient to the parent and do what the parent says so they don't get run over by a truck, you see. So they're kind of like programmed to be that, but they're also programmed to be independent. Now, the question for the parent, for the adult, is whether the behavior that the child is doing is exercising dependence or independence. Is it good or bad? You see, we like to split the child. But the child is ambiguous, whereas the dog and the cat are not. I mean, the dog is not ambiguous. It is obedient. It's going to watch you. And the cat is independent. It's not going to run around watching you and sitting there, watching you, waiting for you to come back. The cat doesn't care. It seems to not care. I mean, it will be affectionate, but it's always on the cat's terms. So they're kind of like yin and yang, separate. So I get back to this, my favorite picture as a demonstrator. My old lady, young woman, if you see the old witch there's her right eye and her nose and her mouth. And you see the young princess, the beautiful woman, there is her right ear, and she's looking towards the back, and that's her neck, you see. That's ambiguous. Which is it? If you say it's an old woman, well, you're only half right. But you're not even half right. The old woman is a complete picture, stands alone. The young woman is a complete picture, stands alone, yet they are ambiguous. If you change one, you change the other. Now, a child is like that. A child is ambiguous because its behavior is both independent and dependent at the same time. It wants freedom and it wants security. These are two imperatives that it has to obey. It has to be secure. We all know this. We're the same way. It has to be secure, and we have to be free. And they're incompatible. In other words, you can't be free and take risks and be secure at the same time. And yet we are. The child is, I'm saying, and we are too, but I'm just talking about the child. The child is ambiguous that way. But the parent, we're not ambiguous. We see the world as black or white, on or off, yes or no, independent or dependent. Which one? It can't be both at the same time, we say. But the child is ambiguous because it has not learned to separate itself into moral categories. So from the child's point of view, whatever it does is good, bad. It's independent and dependent at the same time. From the child's point of view, it doesn't say this is bad action or this is good action, which the parent interprets. The parent says that you deliberately did bad action. You deliberately disobeyed me. Whap, 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 you see. That's because the parent is splitting the child into two separate imperatives, free or dependent, being obedient or being impudent or being free, you see. From the child's point of view, there's no split. He just does stuff. But he does it because it's both. You can watch little children and they will keep their eye on the mother and they will start, and the mother says, don't touch that on the coffee table, and the child will go over there and look at the mother and then reach out and touch it. So the child in that action is being its true nature, which is ambiguous. It's trying to be both, because the child must obey both imperatives. That is what's so hard to understand. When faced with an ambiguity of two imperatives that must be obeyed and cannot be separated, you see, I must be free, I must be secure, and I can't do one or the other because I must obey both. I must come up with a way to do both at the same time. I must come up with a strategy to do both. So the child's strategy, when the mother says, don't touch that thing on the coffee table, the child will go over there, look at the mother, I'm obeying the mother, and then it will reach out and touch that object. Because it's doing both. It's healing itself. It's bringing back the split, you see. So the title of this talk is Don't Be a Cow. So what the parent does to the child is look at the child's behavior like the butcher looks at a cow, a dead cow, a beef, and says, okay, here's the steak, that's the good, and here's the tail, that's no good. So it chucks it up, and this is good behavior, obedient behavior, this behavior is bad behavior, the tail, the feet. I'm going to throw them away. So the title of this talk, this Zen Fit, is Don't Be a Cow. Understand that the child is ambiguous, and you have to understand the child's behavior from both points of view, not one or the other. If you understand the child's behavior as being both obedient and independent, you'll have a revelation, because you will see the child whole again instead of divided into good and bad child. Be good. You know, every time I see everybody does this. You leave the child goes out. I don't care if they're 30 years old. Be good. That's a double bind. Why should when I feel good, why should somebody tell me to be good? That assumes that I'm not good and I need to try to be good. If I have to try to be good, I can't be good, because being goodness is spontaneous. I am spontaneous. You are spontaneously good, which means whole. So if you try to be good, that action is based in the assumption that you're not good and you got to try to be good. And right then, you're off the mark. Right now, you're trying to be good. And if you ever try not to make a mistake? You ever try to do something perfectly? You can't do it. Something is going to come in and screw it up. You are perfect when you don't try. So anyway, we're working on this. So I hope you can get a grasp of this Zen Fit and see if it fits. The point is that when you look at a child's behavior, you need to look at it from 2 points of view. And you need to put those 2 points of view back together again into one behavior, which is the child's behavior. Because the child is good, but that good includes the bad. So that goodness includes the 2 imperatives of being obedient to me, the parent, and being independent, which I may interpret as being disobedient, you see. So if I interpret the action as being disobedient, what I'm doing is interpreting the child's imperative of being independent as being disobedient. Because I've made the imperative being obedience into, I've made the imperative of being the imperative of being obedient into either you're good or bad. And that negates the other imperative, which is to be independent and free. Thanks for dropping in. I hope this Zen fits.